Hi, my name is Marcella Abadi Rhodes, and today we're going to be discussing counters and surfaces. The newsletter will cover dining surfaces, non-employee work surfaces, sales counters, and service counters. The section 226 of the ADA discusses dining and work surface. Where a dining surface is provided for consumption of food or drink, at least 5% of the seating spaces and standing spaces at the dining surface shall comply with section 902. So I'm going to explain a little further in my newsletter what that means, because some people just might think that it's the seating that needs to comply rather than the surface. So keep in mind, this is just talking about surfaces, which in essence is the counters or tables that are fixed or built in. In addition, where work surfaces are provided for the use by other than employees, at least 5% shall comply. So this is another misunderstood, because it talks about work surface. People believe that it's work related, but it's specifically speaking about non-employee work surfaces. And things like not transaction counters, but counters that are used for writing checks or filling out forms, registrations, etc. In the section 902, where it talks about dining and work surfaces, a clear floor space that complies with section 305, positioning for a forward position shall be provided. Therefore, any work surface or dining surface must have a knee clearance, and it must have a forward approach. And the height has to be between 28 inches minimum and 34 inches maximum. That's also something that's misunderstood, because most everyone makes it 34 inches, and that is actually the maximum. It can be lower, and and it must be 34 inches maximum plus a forward approach. Section 227 of the ADA talks about sales and service counters. Where provided, at least one of each type of sales and service counter shall comply with section 904. Where counters are dispersed throughout the building, counters complying with 904 shall also be dispersed. In this newsletter, I'm going to be explaining basically about the different types of sales or service counters that you might encounter, and each one has to be accessible, even if they're along the same counter. If they're for different purposes, you're going to have to make each one accessible. There's another misunderstanding that I will talk about in the newsletter, where we talk about transactions. There's no transactions that are required for a sales and service counter. It's whether you're selling something or whether you're providing a service. Transactions are no longer the requirement for these particular counters. In section 904, it discusses the height of the sales or service counter, and it must be 36 inches maximum, and it must be the same depth as the main counter, or the same depth as the counter as the public side of the counter. And a parallel approach can be used, but also a forward approach. So it's a choice that you can make. So in this, as a summary, the sales and service counter can have a forward approach, and it must be at 36 inches maximum of height and 36 inches in length, and also a parallel approach can be used. This is the explanation for the newsletter. Hope you enjoy reading.